Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Social Media Millionaire podcast. And back by popular demand, Sasha.
Oh my God. Hi. I'm so happy to be here. I love it. We have so much fun.
The people love you. They're like, that was the best episode you've ever done.
Well, I love the people. What can I say? What can I say?
I
Love
love
it.
that. I love that for us. for
Same.
for those of you that don't know, I feel like everyone does, but maybe they don't. I don't know. If you're just finding us, Sasha is the content and like marketing specialist on our coaching panel inside the programs. And people are like, "Wow, Kendra, your content's so good." Yeah, that's because I have Sasha. So
Stop. That is so nice. That's the nicest thing anyone's
true,
ever said to me. That's the nicest thing.
but it's true. I'm like, "What am I filming this week?" And you're like, "Here."
I love it. I love it. Well, you always make my job so fun and easy. So
I try.
teamwork makes the dream work. You know what I mean?
Total chaos at all times.
And you know what? And that is exactly how we love to do this, in total chaos.
Facts. Okay, well, we were going through the episodes that we have planned, and we're like, what should we talk about today? And since nobody seems to know how to do this, and then everyone and their mom has like heaps of misinformation, we're going to talk about building a personal connection with your audience and ultimately making money from your social media because you really can't make sales if you don't have this.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. Insert clapping.
yeah.
Insert that clapping background. Like, woo! Woo!
I love that for us.
No, me too. Me too. And you know what? I feel like it is so hard for people to build that connection and that trust, but not even hard to do it. They don't necessarily know how to or
Yeah.
where to start, especially if it's a rather new account or they're new to the social space or they're new to a specific platform. And, I know a lot of people like hate on Instagram. Like
Yeah.
there's so many Instagram haters, but Instagram is like such a beautiful platform to really nurture your audience and build that connection and build that trust factor. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it on like TikTok, but you could take it one step further on Instagram. And I truly believe that the people who are, you know, big Instagram haters are only haters because they just don't know how to use the platform in a way that's going to be so beneficial to them.
100%. Well, the thing is like the people that hate Instagram, they one of two things. They try to treat it just like they do TikTok, or they post like they're an influencer, but they're a business owner.
Yes, that right there.
Those are the people
A
that hate
hun-
it. It's like
a
ultimately,
100%.
it's like you don't know how to use it. That's why you don't like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, and like even going off of that, let's dive into how they're going to be a little bit different and how you can really build that trust and connection with your audience. And so with like TikTok, and if anyone's listening on here that's like, I'm a big TikTok fan, great. This is for you. Okay, this is great. You want to make sure that you are getting on live. I absolutely love doing TikTok lives just because I love getting that engagement and interaction right on the spot. I love when people ask questions. I love when people engage. I love being able to help them right then and there.
Mhm.
Now, I know there's someone listening to this right now being like, okay, but what if I do a live and nobody's on it? Who
Nobody
cares?
joins.
Yeah, but but honestly, who cares? Get on the live, prepare some things that you want to talk about, okay? And if nobody hops on, guess what? you got great exposure. You were able to talk about it. You probably got really excited about what you were talking about. Now go create some content. There is no way that you can continue to do lives and just never ever in your life get a single viewer or a single comment. So it's like, keep going, keep
Mhm.
trying, keep doing these things to get better. Um, and then you're going to have some lives that completely pop off. For
Yep.
example, my very first live I did, it went viral. And I was on for like 2.5 hours. And I was like, I thought I was like the coolest thing like known to mankind. I was like, wow, like I'm literally so cool. And I had so much fun on that live. And because of that live, one, I gained like 5,000 followers from that one single live. And I got so many ideas of what people wanted to see and hear from me. And
Mhm.
that was so impactful and so beneficial. And so then the next week, I was like, I'm going to go live again. I had ten people watching my live. Okay. And I was like, whoa, this isn't me going viral on my live. What's happening? Where are all my friends? Then the next week, I did it again and I had like 500 people on it. And so it's going to fluctuate all the time. But
Yeah.
now my audience knew that I was going to show up every week for my lives and I was going to answer questions and I was going to be able to give so many answers and so much value to them that they wanted to connect with me. And then from that, they would go and follow my Instagram where I would talk to them even more, you
Yeah.
know? So, and I know you like lives.
I
I
love
know you
live.
like TikTok lives.
I Instagram scares me when with lives. I don't know, it's just a different vibe. Everyone's so serious, whereas TikTok it's so unhinged and I love it.
Yeah,
TikTok is like it's just a different beast, but it's great because one, you know how people are like, "Oh, well, if I'm newer to business and I don't have any testimonials, like I don't know what to post." Doing a live is like the best like built-in social proof because if you're able to
yep,
go live and answer questions and talk for like an hour, 2 hours, people that don't actually know crap about what they're posting, they're not able to do that. They don't do that type of live or they don't go live at all or they sit there and answer questions about their hair products. Like they don't
yep.
actually they're not able to basically coach for that long. So
Mhm.
it's like a huge piece of social proof. And also when people are like, oh, what if nobody comes to my live on TikTok? It's putting it on the For You page. And so, like, there's so many people that because you know when it comes up on the For You page, like you have to like tap in to actually like join the live, but you can still
Yep.
watch the live.
Mhm.
And so I think when people get discouraged because there's not like 20 people actively like in the live, there's probably 5 times that actually watching it. They just haven't tapped in from the For You page.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's like there's people seeing it. And if you want people to join the live, I feel like that's mostly in what you're naming it because it's the same thing as like Pinterest, like why people click through. If you want people to click through and join your live, it has to be something that's enticing where they're like, "Oh, I want to be there." If you just call it like Q&A sesh, like no one cares. Literally no one cares.
I love that you brought that up because I was gonna ask you, like, how do you go about naming your lives?
I usually name them something like super dramatic. I'm like, if I'm gonna get on and talk about like, I don't know, sales psych, I'll name it like this is the truth.
This is the truth, everybody.
And people are like, tea, and they want to be in. And then like they get there, and obviously it's like it's being pushed out to my audience, people that have seen my content, people that are interested. I mean, everyone knows how the algorithm works, so people aren't going to be like vastly disappointed when they get in and I'm talking about that. So I want to make sure that like whatever I'm saying builds it carries the same amount of like excitement and enticing nature that the title does, but the title doesn't necessarily have to be like what you're talking about.
I love that you bring it up because I feel like also some people are scared to go live because of that. They're like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to name it. And then they're sitting there trying to name it for 30 minutes. And then they're like, I just don't have the energy to do the live. Now I'm stressed. And it's like, none of it is really a big deal. None of
No.
it matters that much. So
Yeah.
it's like, name it something juicy, name it something spicy, something
Mhm.
clickable. Something I've been saying in our content calls lately. I'm like, I just don't have a better word for this, but I'm always like, you want it to be really hooky. And it's like, and every time I say it, I apologize because I'm like, I don't have a better word for this, but you want it to be hooky. And you know what? I'm not even gonna apologize for anymore because I think it's catching on. I saw somebody in Slack say, "Don't you think this is hooky?" And honestly, I think I'm starting a trend, and I'm gonna make hooky happen. Okay?
I love that.
Yeah, yeah. Good. I'm
So
glad.
much.
Yeah, that's so hooky. So if you're watching your content back or if you're looking at your titles, if you can't say to yourself, that's so hooky, you're doing it wrong. Okay. You're doing it wrong. So do it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Ugh, I love it. Well, and so, okay. So going back on topic. Okay. So TikTok, right? Doing lives are obviously going to help so much with building that trust and building that connection. But I will also say making sure that you are responding to your comments and actually engaging your people, your community, your audience is going to help them stay on your page with you, connected with you for so much longer than you just either like liking their comment or just completely not answering. And there's obviously like a few different ways you could do it. You could actually just comment back like on text, or you could do video responses. And
Mhm.
I'm the biggest fan of video responses
Yeah.
because it's just so much more, I feel like, connected and genuine, and really shows like, hey, I really care about what you're saying. I really care about you being here. Let me give you the info. Let me give you the tea. Let me give you the hookies.
Yep. 100%. Well, and people feel so like when I comment on somebody's post and they make a video response, I'm like, you made a whole video just for me?
Yeah,
That's so
legit. Like,
nice.
I feel so special. It's like, make more.
Make more of those. Well, and it does two things, right? With the because you're the queen of the comment reply. If when you do that, one, it's like building that connection with the person that commented, which is so important. Two, you're leveraging that bandwagon effect where when it comes up on people's For You page, they feel like they're hopping in the middle of a group chat and they want to know the tea. They want to know what's happening. So that's so, so powerful too. And like what I'll do, even if I film a video, even if it's not specifically a comment reply, but I know people have commented questions about it before, I will go find one of those and post it as a comment reply, even if it wasn't like filmed that way. People love it. They absolutely love it. And then it boosts engagement. The other thing you were talking about commenting back to everybody, so many people are like, oh, well, my video only got 4 comments. Okay, well, if you responded to everybody, that would be 8 comments. Like, you can easily double the amount of comments that you have. And like, this is one of the few things on social media that you truly have control over. You can double the amount of comments you have on a post simply by responding to everybody. And you can actually force your videos to trend further by actually starting conversations with people in the comment section. So if somebody comments a question, rather than just answering the question, one, comment using like 5 or more words so that it registers as like a real sentence, not just like an emoji response. Two, answer and then ask a question so that you're bringing them back. Because again, like you can force that engagement. And then when TikTok's algorithm sees, oh, people are constantly coming back to this post, it'll push it farther. You can easily, and I've tested this with a lot of our videos that were like smaller. I've been able to double the amount of views that we've had on videos by doing this. Like if a video was typically going to stop around like 12, 1,500, I can bump it to like 3 to 4,000 by commenting and actually engaging with people.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and so I was gonna ask you too, because I know you do so many of the question box responses. And I'll just add on one thing too. When you do that, if somebody clicks on the question, it brings them back to that video that you posted that had that question. So it's like, boom, another one of your videos is going to get re-engaged. So let's not miss out on that. But I was going to ask you, because I know you have a really special way when you do video responses, how do
Mhm.
you hook them in? Because you don't just go right into the answer. I know you format this in a specific way. So I'd love for you to kind of share that on this little secret podcast with all of our besties.
Yeah. Okay, that's the biggest mistake people make with comment replies. They're like, these never perform well for me. It's because you just answered the question. Use the exact same hook that you used on the initial video. The exact same hook. So even if it feels unnatural with you trying to respond to a question, do it anyway. I use the exact
Mhm.
same hook, same text on screen. Sometimes I'll call it a part two, and then people want to go back and watch part one. And then when people see that it's like a series, also you're going to increase the amount of followers you're getting from that, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I always use the same hook because it's going to, one, make sure that I'm actually grabbing the attention of like the randos that it's pushing it out to that didn't see the first video. But two, I think it also creates like a sense of cohesion so that you can like leverage more videos together, and then you can turn it into a playlist. You can like leverage that traffic going from one video to another a lot easier. I don't know. Something about it. I couldn't tell you the science, but it works really well.
No, 100%. I love it. And I know you always teach that too, to always hook them in with the initial hook. And it's so crazy because it's like every single time you do that, the video performs so incredibly well.
Mhm.
So, major piping secret for everybody that's listening to this podcast. You are welcome.
Yeah. It's
Love
it's
it.
huge. It's huge. Well, and we
Yeah.
always talk about like building relationships and stuff, and like one of the biggest like factors when you look at it from a sales psych perspective is like response conditioning and building the yes ladder. And a really great way to do that is by getting these micro commitments of people clicking from one video to the next, to the next, to the next through those comment replies or through the playlist. That's a micro commitment. And so what you're doing is you're nurturing them and you're condensing the amount of time it's going to take for them to actually decide to make a purchase with you by giving them more and more interactions. People typically need 7 to 14 interactions with you before they'll even consider making a purchase decision. And so you can condense that time by having them click from video to video to video to video and setting that up in a more strategic way, which also goes back to the way that we plan content, where we're not just like pulling stuff out of our butt on a Monday morning. It's like everything is strategically interconnected.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. And so obviously we're gonna do like a little bit of a segue into Instagram because let's be honest, yes, you can like kind of send DMs on TikTok, but it
Not
gets
really.
lost. There's like requests, like you have to be friends with everyone. And it's just honestly such a hassle and such a big deal. And I feel like the people of TikTok don't want to have conversations in the DMs. Like, that's just not the platform for DMs. I like, personally speaking, whenever I get a DM on TikTok and it's like random, right? It has nothing to do with anything. I'm like, ugh, it's giving MySpace. And I don't know if I aged myself with that comment. So if you don't know what it is, MySpace was awesome, but it's giving MySpace, okay? And so, you want to bring over your audience from TikTok to your Instagram because that's where you can really, really build those like tight knit connections and network with, and I don't even necessarily love to say audience, but like with your people, with
Mhm.
your community, with the people who are already invested in you. Like they've already followed you, they watch your stuff. They are invested in who you are,
Mhm.
not just as a business owner, but also as a person. And
Yep.
so, we're going to go really deep on how you're going to nurture your audience, on Instagram. But I want to start off with like this incredibly difficult, like 2-word thing that's just been going around like crazy, super big buzzword called personal brands. Okay. And it's like scary, right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know about you, but every time somebody says personal brand, I just like want to run the other way because I'm like, I don't know what you're saying.
My brain
What
shuts.
is my, yeah, yeah, it's like, what's a personal brand? Who is she?
Who's
And where
she?
can I find her? This is how I feel about personal brand, is how I feel about niche. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Right? That's exactly how I like niche down, build a personal brand. What are you saying? What are
What are
you,
you saying?
stop it. Right? And
Oh.
so show so you did an incredible job at, actually putting a name to it and,
You're
describing it in
being
a way that's
so nice
humane.
to me.
You know what? It's because you're incredible, okay? But, we talk a lot about bringing your personality into Instagram, into your content, into your stories. And
Mhm.
you've coined it. I'm going to do a little drum roll. Go ahead.
Immersion content.
Insert more clapping. Yes. Okay. And okay, we love to see it because like what you're really talking about is like bringing people along for the
Mhm.
ride of your life, the ride of your business, what makes you who you are, why people should work with you versus anybody else. And like,
Yeah.
let's be so honest, okay? If you're listening to this, you have or you're wanting to have a business. And you
Mhm.
know what? Without even getting to know you, I guarantee that there's other people that are doing the same business as
Yep.
you, right?
100%.
And so it's like when you're thinking of immersion content, right? You want to think, okay, what makes me me? What makes me different? What makes me special? What makes me who I am? What's going to make somebody be like, you know what? That's my person right there. I
Mhm.
know that there's 50 other people on my feed that are in the same exact industry, but this person is my vibe. So like
Mhm.
when you think of immersion content, how do you, because you do a great job at this, how do you know what to like bring into your socials to really bring people in and have them be like, Kendall's my girl. That's my girl right there.
Well, it's exactly like it sounds, is like you want to immerse them in your ecosystem. And so all the different facets of that include, but are not limited to, your framework, your why, your villain, which of course goes into what differentiates you, your unique value proposition, and then of course your personal story, which people seem to really like to leave this out, but it doesn't have to be that deep. It's just tracking back the different kind of benchmarks within your life that brought you to where you're at. So it could just be like I was a cheerleader in high school and I struggled with body dysmorphia. And then I went to college and didn't feel as good about myself because I wasn't working out every day like I would for cheer. And so I got certified as a personal trainer. And now I help other women that feel the same way. Right? It's like, it doesn't have to be so like your deepest, darkest secrets, but it you want to basically give your audience context as to really just like, why are you interested in what you're interested in? Why did you decide like you wanted to have this business? Why did you decide that you were going to do this thing as a career? People honestly just want that context because people can't trust somebody that they can't place. It's the same like psychological phenomenon where people tend not to vote for politicians that aren't married because it's hard for them to place that mentally. If you have a partner and children, we can place you. We have context as to who you are. even if we don't know anything about your beliefs, we have context around you as a person. It's the exact same thing when it comes to your social media. People can't vote for you or follow you, buy from you, because if they can't place you, which it sounds bad because it's like nobody wants to be put in a box, right? But if people can't put you into a box and compartmentalize and understand where you're coming from, they're not going to be able to trust you. You just showing up with like great tips and tricks and like educating the shit out of your audience is not going to actually build that trust because they can't place you. They don't understand where you're coming from. They don't understand where you got that information. For all we know, you asked ChatGPT and then made content about it. So you have to provide context to why you know what you know. That's it. That's the personal brand, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah, personal brand scare.
Scary.
No, I love it. And so I know it's hard for people to kind of pull out different things about like of how they got to where they got.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to give anybody that's trying to pull this out of their archives, how would you tell them like do this, try this, think about this? What would you say to them?
Well, for sure, it's the my butterfly effect exercise that we teach in the programs is like you want to track back as far as you can possibly go to the beginning. So it's like you start with where you are now and you go backwards. So let's use the personal trainer example. Currently, you're a personal trainer. When did you get certified? Okay, 3 years ago. Why did you get certified 3 years ago? Well, I've been working out for 2 years and I decided it was time. Great. Okay. Why did you start working out 2 years prior to that? Well, because I was really struggling with my mental health. Okay. Why were you struggling with your mental health? Well, because I went to college and I was struggling with my grades and I never felt good enough. I was dealing with imposter syndrome. Okay. Why did you feel that? And you just keep going back and back and back and back. And so ultimately, what we find is like, well, when I was a kid, my mom made comments about her body in the mirror, and now I'm a personal trainer, right? It's like this through line through your entire life. And like I share the same example with my own content all the time is like now I have a social media marketing and consulting business. When did I start consulting? Well, we go back to 2020 when my social media blew up and I just had too much demand for my management services. I could not help everyone. Okay. Why did I blow up on social media? Well, because I had this experience from doing social media management, working with a mentor of mine. Okay. How did I meet that mentor? Okay. Through the rodeo industry, through barrel racing. How did I get into barrel racing? Through equine therapy. Why was I in equine therapy? Well, because I had cancer as a child. So it's like we go back as far as we possibly can, and then we fill in kind of those bullet points. Exactly what I just explained, like all of those little bullet points. Those are also then the headlines that you can use through your content, and that's what gives people context around who you are. And it doesn't have to be you sitting down for a story time video and unveiling your deepest, darkest secrets. It's literally just that high level overview of the path, of the domino effect that brought you to where you are. That's it.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you said you don't have to like dump every single thing in a live video. You take little snippets
Mm-hmm.
and you bring it back to now and you connect it to now. You connect it to what you do. You connect it to your clients. You connect it to your offers. You connect it to what you're doing throughout the day
Right.
very subtly a lot. And a lot of people are also like really scared to, repeat themselves.
Yep.
And I'm going to hold your hand when I say this, whoever's listening. Nobody can tell that you've said it multiple times because not everyone watches your stuff 24/7. Sometimes they
Yeah.
forget. And on top of that, people consume so much content that I guarantee you, even if you said it yesterday, they most likely don't remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's okay. It's okay to repeat yourself. It's not that deep.
100%. The people that follow you do not see every piece of content that you put out. And I don't know why people operate in that way and seem to have it in their head. They're like, "Well, I have 20,000 followers and they all know this about me." No, they don't. No, they don't. Only 10% of those people are even going to watch your story. What about the rest of them? And so yeah, it just boggles. That really sends me. People are like, "Well, I have 100,000 followers on TikTok. They already know this about me." No, they don't. Oh my gosh, stop. And it's people are like, "Well, it's redundant. It's redundant." It's not redundant. It's a requirement. You have to repeat yourself because repetition is what makes you memorable. If you're not memorable, you're not making money. Period. That's it.
Mm-hmm. 100%, 100%. And so like with that like immersion content, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
also so much that you can do with your Instagram stories
Oh,
where you're not just sharing that like immersion content piece of like what brought you to here, but you're also showcasing the day to day of like what your life looks like, what's important to you, the behind the scenes of your business, the demand to work with you, and so many other things. And you're like a queen at that. So, like, tell me, how do you go about on your Instagram stories where you connect to your audience and everybody who's viewing it, where they look at it and they're like, that was incredible. I feel like I know her. I feel like we're besties
mm-hmm.
and I'm in. I'm so in.
They're like,
Sign me
"Sign me
up.
up."
Yeah, exactly.
I love that you're interviewing me as if you're not the one that posts this for me.
It's hee 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 hee. Okay, but you know what? Like, I have learned so much from you that it's like, okay, but we're all in this together, you
I
know?
can't. I can't. That's so funny. Well, I mean, it's exactly like it sounds. Like I keep coming back to the word immersion. It's exactly what it is. You're immersing them in every aspect of your brand. So you're immersing them in the context of your backstory. You're immersing them in your day to day, what it looks like for you to run the business. You're immersing them in what your client experience looks like. You are bringing them into the decisions that you're making, the thoughts that you have, the breakthroughs that you're having, and you're also bringing them into aspects of your personal life. And this is different than your personal brand, regardless of what people want to tell you. That is different than your personal brand, showing your personal life and what you're doing. Now, sometimes it will run, there will be through lines between what you do now and what your personal brand is. Example, I talk about the reason that I got into this was through horseback riding, barrel racing. Well, something that I still do to this day and share on my social media is when I go out and I'm riding my horse. So there are connections often, but sometimes they're not connected, strategically into your personal brand. You're just bringing people into your life so that they, again, have context to who you are. So, if you're,
Yeah.
a fitness coach, take us to the gym with you. You don't have to show us your workout and constantly be educating and constantly be showing us all your supplements and this and that. Just us knowing that you walk the talk is so powerful. If you talk about having clients, show us you working with your clients. Show us the behind the scenes. What are you doing? Oh, you're sitting down for 2 hours doing some deep work, doing client feedback. Great. We would love to know that because we want to know what goes into these offers that we're investing in. Because just seeing, here's what's included is not enough. People, it's that future pacing that we talk about in sales psych. It's like, it's the reason why realtors stage houses so you can see yourself living there instead of walking you into an empty house. You don't want your social media to be an empty house. Stage the house. Show them what's inside the offers. Show them you facilitating that. show them you living your life. Allow them to see themselves as one of your clients. Immerse them in your world before they buy from you. That's the single most powerful thing, because then you're eliminating the number one thing that causes people not to buy, which is this human risk aversion. We're all so risk averse. We don't want to take a risk. We don't want to have the option for pain. We don't want to be like in any sort of discomfort in any way. And so you can remove a lot of that doubt and uncertainty and discomfort simply by pulling back the curtain and letting people into your world before they've bought anything from you. And again, that's not uncovering, like showing them, like, here's what's in the program, releasing the module. It's literally showing you running the program, showing you working with clients so that they can conceptualize what that looks like.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Speaking of real estate, let me just share an amazing example of how Kenda did this before. Okay. We
Oh,
had a conversation about this yesterday, so I know you know
yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I had first found Kenda on TikTok. And I've said this in other podcast episodes. So if you're an OG, I'm glad you're here. Okay. And if you're not, we'll be besties. It's okay. So anyway, okay, like that's not here or there. Anyways, I found her on TikTok and I thought she was like so cool. And I stalked her videos, but I didn't follow her. Okay. I know. Lame. Lame. I know.
Offensive.
I know. I know. I know. I feel bad. Then I kind of completely forgot about her. She didn't show up on my For You page. Then I saw Soren TikTok. Now, if you don't know, Soren is Kenda's husband. And the video was like things I learned from blah 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 blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, that kind of sounds like Kenda. And then I went through like his followers. I was like, oh my God, he follows her. And then I was like, oh my God, they're married. Because I went to your Instagram and you had posted how you guys bought an investment property. From that post, now that investment property post that you posted, it was not like some sales pitch. It was not some like, if you work with me, you're going to buy a house. Okay. It was nothing like that. It was something that was just so inspiring to see. I was like, dang, this girl is so cool. Like, she's out here helping so many people. And she's like, she's not just talking the talk, she's walking the walk. She's doing what she teaches people to do. Like, she's out there doing it, she's living it. From that post, that's when I followed Kenda, because that was something so personal and that was something where I could see myself doing, right? Because it's like, it's great to give this value and these tips and things like that, but those tips don't make me be like, wow, I can have a house, right? By any means. But seeing what she was able to accomplish gave me that confidence of like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. So I followed her from that post. And then a few weeks later, she posted another reel that was like, if you're making $10,000 a month, you're not having a business. And at that point, I was so burnt out in my business. And I was like, you're so right. Thanks for calling me out. And from that moment, I actually joined the membership, which is now the society, and completely changed my like entire life. So it's funny because that was the post. Ew, am I tearing up right now?
A little.
Yikes. Talk about emotional. Yeah, wow. Just really proud of you. What can I say? Okay. But for real, that post, it's really what got me. And so often we see clients, you know, think that all I ever need to post is business, results. But it's like, your results, great. Your business, great. But I can't relate to what you were able to accomplish. And to be honest, how do I know that your results are even real? Don't even get me started on camera results. Don't threaten me with a good time, because if you, because I know you made a TikTok about this, but if all of your testimonies are in Canva, was it fun writing them from your own point of view? Was it fun? And and don't tell me you didn't, because I know you did. It's okay. It's okay. Just say it. Just be open and honest about it. Be like,
To
yes,
be
I
honest,
did do that. I did do that. I did write my own testimonies that I posted on my stories, and I'm wondering why I'm not getting any interaction or engagement on it. Okay, I'm done beefing with that. Apologies. Yoicks.
Sasha made me talk about this in a TikTok like 2 days ago.
Yes. Yes, I did. Because they're so silly. They're so silly. It's like, I don't know who wrote that. Who wrote that?
No, for real. They're like, Janice, real estate coach. And I'm like, nuh-uh, nuh-uh, girl. I know you wrote that.
Yeah. And you know what? Back in the day, I used to take it a step further. And if I would see it on somebody, I would go to their followers and I would type in that name. And you know what? Like 99% of the time, they didn't even show up. And I'm like, you don't follow who you coached? You liar. And there's nobody by that name following you. So what happened here? What happened?
Is Janice in the room with us?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Janice disappeared. Whatever. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I do that too. I also do that with screenshots. If people
Yes.
include the name, which that's my whole other thing, like I I'm all about confidentiality, but if you include the name and I go to your followers and I can't find that person, mm,
Yeah. It's like, why can't I
okay.
see that?
Yeah, I don't believe you. We know you wrote that.
Exactly. And it's like, make it a little bit believable, babes.
Yeah, try a little harder. I I don't know.
So another thing that's really important when it comes to building that trust and building that connection with your audience really comes down to consistency. And
Wah, wah.
not just like consistency for your business sake, but a consistency for your audience to actually trust you that you're going to show up for them. Because,
Mhm.
if you go like balls to the wall for an entire month, right? Your audience is now seeing, like, okay, cool. Like, she's consistent. Like, these are the things that are popping out to me all the time. And then all of a sudden you go ghost.
Mhm.
What makes the customer think that you're not just going to ghost them when you start working with them?
Yeah, you when people say consistency, I think they talk a lot about timing, which is important, showing up consistently, but it's also like building trust in a consistent way where exactly that. If you say you're going to post something, post it. Otherwise, we don't believe that you're going to actually deliver the offer. I'm not sure you're actually going to send me the course when I buy it. And there's nothing worse than finding a creator that you really like and you like watch up to like all of their content and then they don't post for a month. I hate that. I will unfollow you. I'm deeply offended. Not that people can't take breaks from social media, but whatever. The thing is like your social media should be so on autopilot that like you don't feel the need to take a break. And so
Yeah.
if you're like, I need a break from social media, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it
Mm-hmm.
wrong because it shouldn't be like that. So with consistency, it's like one, building on what you posted. So like creating consistency within your tone of voice, with your brand message, with the things that you believe in, with showing up in integrity, showing what you do as a business owner to maintain, a standard of ethics in your space, showing those beliefs that you have and consistently talking about them. And the other thing is people like they could have binged all of your content and they still might not remember all these key things about you. And so if there's something you want people to know about you, you have to tell them, and you have to tell them over and over and over again, which goes back to the repetition we talked about. But again, just like with consistency, it's not just like, oh, I post once a day, because consistent garbage is not what we're asking for. We want consistent quality. And there's also different places that like you need to show up more often than others. So like Instagram stories, that should be a daily thing. Short form content should be going out daily. Notice I didn't say you're creating it daily. It's going out daily. And then, your feed posts, maybe what is consistent for you is 2 times a month. That's fine. That's okay. Because the feed posts, when we talked about this earlier, feed posts are like the one piece of content that primarily goes to your followers besides your stories. Your reels, your TikToks, your lives, it gets pushed out to so many randos, which is great because we want that attraction piece. But to actually immerse people into your world, we need those more in-depth pieces of content from you, and those feed posts are a great place to do that because you can more so unpack different elements of your framework or different beliefs that you have. You can give more insight into these things that you know and teach about. And that's also from one feed post, you can create hundreds of inquiries, which for us, 100 inquiries, that's $500,000 from a single post. So it's not that the consistency needs to be happening every day. It's that there needs to be a consistent quality, a consistent message, and consistent immersion within your ecosystem. That's what it really is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that you touched on how it should be that consistent quality, because I think a lot of people, when they do hear consistency, they think like 40 posts a day,
Yeah.
nonstop. And
Mhm.
that's not the case at all.
No.
And you have to start at a point that is sustainable to you.
Mhm.
So don't just go from never posting to posting like 10 times a week. Start with like
Mhm.
2 to 3, where
Right.
that becomes something sustainable for you and something manageable and something that you're excited about.
Mhm.
That's going to become a habit. And then you're
Yeah.
going to add on more and more and more and more, and you're not going to be like burnt out from your content. You're going to generate incredible ideas, and your quality of work is going to be
So
impeccable.
much higher. Well, and the thing is like people get really hung up on how often should I post? How often should I be showing up? You, if you truly knew what your audience needed from you, you wouldn't have to ask that question because you would have such a wealth of information to share that you know is going to be impactful, and you would just schedule it out. It wouldn't be a question of like, what's the bare minimum I can do? It's instead like, here's the strategy, here's what people need. Now we schedule it to go out.
Yep.
And people just approach it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And, you know, with like setting the tone for your like feed posts, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's also setting a tone of how you want people to interact with you. Um, you know, there's, Instagram stories where you can put in the question boxes or the polls or whatever the case may be. And I
Right.
know a lot of people say like, "Oh, I posted and like nobody asked me any questions and,
Nobody
whatever."
engaged.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
nobody engaged with me. I don't want to do it again, or it feels like nobody's ever watching my stuff. And it's like, well, how many times did you do it? Most
Mm.
of the time it's like 1, 2,
I
max
tried
3.
once.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is so many people are often scared to ask you something, especially if like you're just starting out. Um, and also they don't know what to ask because they
Yeah.
don't really know what you're all about just yet,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And so if you're just starting with questions, why don't you go and insert some questions that you want people to ask, that you want to talk about, to start building that, like, okay, other people are asking questions. I want to ask questions too. It's now opening the door for them to feel comfortable and know that, okay, if I ask a question, she's going to answer me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know?
This is your permission slip to fill in some questions for yourself on your Instagram story, because like, you know, we've gotten to a point where we have so many people watching, where if I were to do that, I wouldn't even be able to get back to all the questions that people include normally. But when you're first starting out, I think it's perfectly okay to, like Sasha said, like set the tone for the type of questions, the topics, the things that you want to discuss, and also set the tone for the fact that, like, I will respond to you. Social media has gotten to a place where we see these big accounts, and when people are just starting out, and I also was under this impression in the beginning, it was like, if you were going to be cool, you couldn't respond or act like you cared. And it was like, of course I'm not going to respond to all the comments. Of course I'm not going to respond to all the DMs. I'm just too important to do that. And the thing is that that's very outdated. That was like the 2016 influencer. People are craving that real human connection, and people talk about this all the time, but like, there's so many studies that are coming out around consumer reports and buyer behavior that really support this longing for connection. And so you thinking you're too cool to respond is only hurting yourself. So setting that tone for community, and it's not just the fact that you respond, it's the way that you respond. Similar to what we talked about with TikTok, it's not just about answering the question, it's about starting a conversation. That should be the goal, not to just answer the question. Because you can answer the question at face value, but then you're likely going to need more context to give them a real answer, right? So leverage that. Ask those questions of them so that you can give even more in-depth information for your audience, for them. When people see that you care, again, it goes back to that how risk adverse we are as humans. When we look at the difference between our rational brain and our primal brain, that is, our knee-jerk reactions come from our primal brain. We buy with our primal brain. And so when you can remove that risk by, again, setting that tone for how people are going to be responded to, how thorough you're going to be in answering their questions, you're removing a lot of that discomfort when it comes to actually investing with you as well.
100%. And I know you touched on starting those conversations, like engaging in those conversations. And, you know, we've had people come to us and say to us, like, oh, nobody's really engaging in my DMs. And it's like, if you're struggling with that, it's time for you to get into people's DMs. And now, not in a slimy way, not in a way where it's like, what's up? Here's my link, buy from me, or I'm never going to talk to you again. Because that's weird, right? We're not going to be weird in
So weird.
2024. Okay.
Yeah.
But swiping up on their stories, what are they posting about? Are you interested in it? Have a genuine conversation, have a genuine connection piece with them, compliment them, ask them about something specific, show interest in not just their business, but also their life. That is going to go such a long way. And again, that's going to open the door for them to want to conversate with you on your stories. It's also going to make them want to watch your stories because now they're like, okay, she's not trying to sell to me. We're just chatting, we're just having a conversation. Eventually, through that repetition of them consistently watching what you're doing, what you're posting, what you're talking about, it's going to be like, oh my gosh, like this is the person that I need. And also, with having those DM conversations, you can pull out those things that they're struggling with and you can use that in your content where they're now like, oh my gosh,
You read my
that's
mind.
exact. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's so smart. And the thing is, I'll just say, if you struggle to have conversations with people and it's so deeply inconvenient for you to respond to people's stories and interact with them, you shouldn't be a coach. You shouldn't be on social media. Like, go somewhere else, is my opinion. Like, it shouldn't be that hard. And it also, exactly what you said, and I have to like be obnoxious with my sales psychology. Exactly what Sasha was talking about is the norm of reciprocity. You build that sense of loyalty. You have to give in order to get. If you give engagement, if you give genuine connection, if you give interaction, they want to give that back to you. They're going to want to reciprocate that. So you responding and interacting on people's stories, on their posts, when you see, and these aren't just randos. We're not just like pulling people out of thin air. These are people that are watching your stories. They're engaging with your posts. They're watching you. They follow you, right? We're not just pulling them out of thin air. So they've had an interest in you sparked, and then you are going to just nurture those people that are already there. Of course, we want to reach out. We want to bring in new people. We talk all about that in our content. It's very simple to do, to bring new people in. But what people really struggle with is nurturing the people that are there and building those connections. So when people watch your story, watch their story, interact with their story, ask them questions. And it should never come across with this undertone of I'm trying to sell you something. It should be so genuine because people can smell it from a mile away.
100%. I literally couldn't have said it better myself. I know me and you also talked about like how you slide into people's DMs when you're interested in working with them.
Oh,
I
yeah.
want you to like talk about that because so often people think like if somebody's just like having a conversation, it's like they're not worth my time to answer. So I want you to talk about like your process with that.
Yeah. So, okay. So if I follow somebody and I want to work with them, unless it's like a passive product, I honestly feel awkward just like shooting an application without like talking to them at all. Like, I don't know if that's just me or my people pleasing or what, but I'm like, I need to like start a convo with them so there's some connection and then be like, oh, by the way, I'm going to like send an application. I will start conversations with people that is not at all like inquiring about their service. And I see how they respond because that's kind of one of my final little tests because I know this about people in social media. If you are not going to take the time to give me a genuine response when I'm just trying to talk to you normally, how do I know that you're going to give me a genuine response when I actually need something from you? So I will start conversations with people that are I'm not like, hey, I want to know about your product or I'm thinking about applying. I will just start a conversation. And so to you, I would say if people are sliding into your DMs and starting conversations with you, I would be very aware of that. And not just from like a strategic sales perspective, because I realize how that's going to come off, but when people are sliding in and starting conversations that maybe don't feel like an inquiry, oftentimes it is an inquiry. They're testing the waters. They want to see what you're going to do. They want to see how you're going to react. They feel like they need that icebreaker before submitting an application. And there's been many times where people have slid in my DMs like or swiped up on a story. It was something about like our cat or my horse or us skiing, and then 2 days later, in comes an application. We didn't talk about working together. I didn't talk about them inquiring. They never even mentioned that they were interested in inquiring. But because I had that real conversation with them, I didn't turn them off and push them away. And that also, we can go so far into client experience too, those initial touch points, because if you don't treat people well in your DMs, even if by some miracle they manage to still sign up with you, you've already damaged that trust there. And so now it's like, well, why aren't people bringing it to me when they need help in the program? It's like, well, because you couldn't even be nice to them when they ask you about your dog. So it really comes full circle, and all of these little touch points with people, and it probably sounds overwhelming, but like it's really not that deep. Just be nice, act like a normal person. It shouldn't be that hard. It really shouldn't.
Well, and if you're in the business of coaching, that really shouldn't be hard for you to be able to talk to people in a kind and respecting
and just genuine way. Like, you're in the business to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make it hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand it.
No. And also, this is like such a little side note, but I'm going to bring up the whole story of stories. Okay. So this person DMs and they're like, "Do you see this DM?" I'm thinking like, "Oh, this can be nice." Yeah, I see your DM. 4-minute long voice messages and a link to the checkout later. Blocked. Blocked. And you know what was so crazy about that too? It was nuts because the initial message was like, "Do you see this?" It was like, and I'm very expressive. Throw me some emojis, throw me some exclamation points, throw me some love and butterflies. And then it was question mark, exclamation point, heart, and then heart hands. I was thinking like, "Oh, that's so nice." Way to kill the vibe. Like, see, that is a way that you don't slide into people's DMs. And that's not like a way to grow your business either. Like,
No.
I feel so unseen, unheard, unloved, unwanted, and nobody wants to feel like just a sales number for you. That's like the worst way to make somebody feel, and like the best way to make sure that people don't want to work with you.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and I feel like people should know by now that like these cold DMs where it's like, "Hey, I think I could help you. Here's a pitch and the link to sign up." Like that's not going to work. But it was interesting that you said you're very expressive. That's one of like my biggest tips when it comes to having conversations with people, both in the DMs and in the comment section. Suss out what type of buyer it is that you're talking to. Because if you want them to feel seen, if you want them to feel connected to you, you have to mirror their communication style. And if you want to make a sale, you need to touch on the things that are important to them. And what's important to them is not going to be you talking about how great you are and all your client results and then giving them all the details about your offer. That's not going to work, especially if you're talking to an expressive buyer, right? And you can tell from a mile away because they're very expressive in their communication styles, tons of emojis, very long-winded, and you want to give back what they're giving you. So if they're giving you a lot of energy, if they're giving you a lot of love, you want to dish that back to them. And even if somebody is, more driver or more analytical, oftentimes if you come at them in just a little bit more of an expressive way, you can disarm them. And so they kind of begin to trust you a little bit more. And then you still want to make sure that you're hitting on those things that are important to them. So if you know you're talking to an analytical buyer, the things that you're going and the way that you're answering their questions and the details that you're going to give are going to be very different than like the way you would answer that same question from an amiable buyer. And so having that understanding too of when you're talking to people, if you really want people to feel seen and heard by you and really safe and really build that connection, you need to be able to determine what buyer type they are so that you can connect with them on that level.
100%. And if you're not too sure on like buyer types, what they kind of mean, how to speak to them, don't you worry. There's another podcast episode that you guys can check out where Kenda talks all about this. And I'll toot her horn for you. She's real good at this. Okay. Like, real good at this. So if you haven't checked it out, you should check it out. And if you have checked it out, you should do it again.
Yeah, I did feel like it was a pretty in-depth episode. It was good. And then if you want to go even deeper than that, there's also details on my YouTube, a lot of different things about the buyer types. So definitely head there. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Social Media Millionaire Podcast. Bye.